What's up YouTube, Network Wizkid here, and today we are doing a knowledge transfer on embedded packet captures on iOS XE devices. So embedded packet captures are also known as EPCs, and what they are is on-box packet capture facilities, allowing you to capture packets either to, from the iOS XE device or through the actual device itself. So packet capture support for multicast is available as well using EPC. So you're not going to see a duplicate packet when you're monitoring on the egress interface. You have the ability to capture IPv4 and IPv6 packets, and you can also save or view your EPC packets locally on the device itself, or you can actually export them to tools such as Wireshark. So that's quite cool if you have the ability to export a capture so that you can analyze it in detail a lot more. The packet captures themselves, they're stored in the buffer of the device, and to finish off on what EPC is, or embedded packet capture, these are really useful for troubleshooting on Cisco iOS XE devices. And for those that have worked with Cisco ASAs, it's similar to captures on the ASA, although they are not the same. So don't think that if you've configured a capture on the ASA that is going to be the same process as doing embedded packet captures on Cisco iOS XE devices, because it's not. So there are a couple of requirements for running EPC, or requirements before you can actually run embedded packet captures. And the first one is you need to ensure you have the correct iOS XE software release. So what I would do, if you are curious to know whether you can make use of EPC, is make sure you check out the features for your particular device. And the second one, which is important, is you need to have the correct licensing, because if you don't have the correct licensing, you're not going to be able to run EPC. You won't even get the commands for it either, so it just won't be there. So I've put on, as you can see on screen, there's a couple iOS XE releases and the correct licenses that you need to have installed in order to run EPC. So you can, if you have the licenses but not enabled yet, or you're running an evaluation, you can set the boot level to use one of these licenses, and then accept the license agreement, save the config, reboot the device. Let's say for instance it's a CSR, and then you should be able to see the commands that will be required to run EPC. Okay. So these are steps to configure embedded packet captures. So we're going to do a demo, so we will run through most of these, not all of these, but we'll run through most of them so you can see what I mean by these steps. The first one is to create a capture and specify an ACL to filter against. Now I've put this as optional, and the reason I've put this as optional is because if you are troubleshooting a packet flow on a device, iOS XE device, and you want to run EPC, you might not be able to create an ACL to match or filter against. So you might not have that ability to do that. By all means, obviously, if the ACL already exists, you can filter on that, but if you need to create a new one to filter specific traffic, you might not be able to do that without the necessary change controls in place, depending on whose device it is and the actual privilege level that you have. So I've put that one as optional. Number 2 is to configure the source and destinations to filter against on the capture. So what I mean by this is you can filter on source IP, destination IP. So I normally run this one when I'm troubleshooting instead of running it against an ACL unless an ACL already exists. But if you've got or you're troubleshooting an issue from one specific source to a destination server, let's say for instance, you can just specify source and destination and match on that. Number 3 is to configure the EPC capture limits. So you can configure specific limits. Again, this is optional, you don't have to. We can have a look at the options on the demonstration when we do that. Number 4 is to attach an interface to the configured EPC. So in order to, so let's say for instance you've specified your source and destination addresses on step 2, and now you want to configure the or attach an interface to the capture so that you can monitor the traffic from that source and destination going through a specific interface. So this is where you would attach an interface. The next one is to specify the size of the buffer for the EPC. So you need to specify the buffer size before you can start the capture. We'll take a look at that in the demonstration. And then once you've done that, you can start the embedded packet capture. And as I said earlier, you can view the embedded packet capture either locally or you can export it to an external location via such as using TFTP and open that up using Wireshark. Once you're done with your troubleshooting, whether you have done the on-box troubleshooting or exported the capture, you can then stop the capture and then remove the capture if you no longer need it. Now it's important to point out that the configurations for embedded packet captures, you're not going to see them in the MVRAM. It's not going to show when you do a show run. However, they do exist if you issue the correct commands, unless you've actually removed them. So it's important to make sure that once you've finished, you stop them and remove them. So we're going to jump into a demonstration now, and this lab that you see on screen is already pre-configured. However, we have a slight issue whereby VPC down here on the left side cannot access node 4 on the right side. So what we're going to do is we're going to use EPC to do some captures and see if we can see what's going on. And then once we know, we will enable or configure the necessary and do it. Have a look at the packet capture again to see the difference. So let me just get my lab up and then we can start. Okay, cool. So these devices are CSRs running in EVE-NG. You can see that we're using Cisco iOS XE software 16.09.04. As I say, they're pre-configured at the minute. VPC we do need to configure with an IP address, so I'll just give that an IP address now. I'll have to connect back to that one. So let's give this one an IP address actually first. So this is node 4, so IP address 209.209, so it's using a public address, .2 because it's a /30, and then our gateway is 209.209.209.1. We'll just ping the gateway, which is CSR2, just to make sure that works. Yeah, so that's fine, we can get there, that's fine. And it's worth pointing out for this lab, it is primarily focused on just the EPC capture, so routing and everything like that is in place apart from the VPC IP addresses, which is what we're going to configure now. I just need to stop that node and start that again. Okay, it's back now, so we'll give that an IP address of 192.168.1.10, and it's a /24, and our gateway is 1.1. And again, we'll verify that just to make sure that we can ping the gateway. Okay, that's good. Okay, cool. Okay, so as I said before in the presentation, our aim of this is to primarily look at the EPCs, but VPC on the left hand side needs to get to node 4. So if we try currently to ping node 4, it should fail. So of course we can look at the configurations on the CSR, but we're going to use EPC to see whether we can determine what's going on. So if I just do show monitor capture, there's no capture set up on here, and if I just take you back to the presentation, we can run through these steps. So the optional ones we'll leave. So we'll start with step 2, where we're configuring the source and the destination. Option 1 we are slightly still using because we're going to create a capture and give it a name. So we'll do that now. So to do that, we do monitor capture, and then we can give the capture a name. So what we'll do is we'll call it lab. So that's where we create that capture, and then what we're going to do now, I said we were going to match on source and destination IP address, so we'll do that now. So we'll do that by issuing match, and as you can see there, we can match on all packets, or we can break it down to specific MAC addresses or IPv4 or IPv6 addresses. So what we're going to do is we'll match on IPv4, and now we should be asked to give it an IP address. We can also specify protocols as well. What we're going to do is we'll match on a host, and our source host is going to be 192.168.1.10, and our destination host is going to be 209.209.209.2. You can see there we've got a couple other things that we can do there, but what we'll do is we'll press the return on that. So now if I do show monitor capture, we can see we've now got a EPC called lab. We can see that the target interface is unattached, so we haven't specified an interface yet. So we'll do that. We can see the status is currently inactive, so it's not running yet. You can see that we've got filters for the source IP and destination IP on any protocol. We can see other information relating to the buffer, which hasn't been set, and we can also see that there's no limits set either. And as I said, limits are a optional thing that you can do. So going back to the presentation, so we've created the capture, and we have configured the source and destination filter. We can take a look at the limits, but we're not going to configure them. Our next main step, we're actually going to attach the interface to the EPC. So what we'll do is we'll do monitor capture lab, and it's important actually to point out that you can see we're in privileged exec mode, we're not in global configuration mode. The configurations actually take place on privileged exec mode, if you've not already noticed. So monitor capture lab, and let's just take a look at limit. And you can see there we've got a few different options we can do to limit. So we've got limiting duration of the capture. We can capture one in every so often packets, and there's a few other options there. So if you want to kind of be more specific, you can break it down like that. But for us, we're going to specify interface now, and we're going to attach an interface. So we're going to attach let's attach gig Ethernet 3. So we'll do attach gig Ethernet 3, and we're going to match both inbound and outbound packets. So let's have a look here. So we'll continue on that, return. So now our interface is specified. So if we do show monitor capture, what can we see now? So we can see that the interface information has changed. So we're monitoring, or we're filtering on gig 3 in both directions, so ingress and egress, and the status is still inactive because we've not started the packet capture yet. So now that we have attached the interface, we need to specify the size of the buffer for the EPC before we can start it. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll do monitor capture lab, and then we can see there we have an option for buffer. So we'll specify buffer and then size, and you can see we've got the total size of the files in megabytes. So I'm just going to do something quite small, 20 megabytes, and I'm going to return on that. So that is the buffer size set now. And so once we've done that, we can actually go ahead and start the EPC. So we'll do that now, and we'll try run a ping test and see what we can capture on that interface. So to start the capture, we'll do monitor capture lab, and then we issue start here. So we'll issue start, and we can see now that the capture has started, and we get an syslog message saying that the capture has started. So to have a look at the packets that are being captured, we'll do show monitor capture lab, and we can view buffer, and we can view brief details or detailed information, so you can dump the output on the screen. So we'll just issue brief for now. We can see that we haven't got any information yet. So what we'll do is we'll start the ping from the VPC. We can see it's still timing out. And what we can see is we can see now that the packet is actually leaving the gig 3 interface, but we can also see that there's no traffic returning from 209.209.209.2. So we've got a connectivity issue here. You can see that ICMP is going out. So as I said, routing's all in place and everything. We know that we're not getting any return traffic. So what we would do is, or what I would do is, I'd look at the configuration on the CSR. We can see that we're routing from a private to a public address. So we have NAT enabled on the CSR. So what I would do is I would do or take a look at the configuration to see what NAT configuration is configured. So we can see gig 110, which is our interface connecting to VPC, is it's got IP NAT inside on, so that's good. We can see gig 3, which is interface we're trying to pass through. We can see we've got IP NAT outside on. So now we need to see what NAT rules we have in place, and that's the end of the configuration. So we don't actually have any NAT rules in place. So it will be NAT. So I'm going to use this access list here, and I'm going to attach that to a NAT statement, and then we will try again and see what we get on the capture. So if I do IP NAT inside source list 20 interface gig 3, and we can specify overload, so we're going to pattern that interface. Do show IP NAT translations. So we've got no translations yet. Show IP NAT statistics. So we have nothing. So that's fine, that's on gig 1. Going to gig 2. So what we'll do is we will issue that ping test again, see if it works this time. And it does. We're getting responses there, so that's good. We can also have a look at the translation. So we can see that we're translating our private address to the public address, which is the 208.208.208.1, and it's going to 209.209.209.2. So back to the, so now we've established that connectivity. Now we can also verify that with the packet capture. So if we do show, let's come out of that. So privilege exec show monitor capture lab buffer, and we'll do brief first. Okay, we can see the ICMP traffic, and let's do detailed. So it's the same there. So what if I clear the capture information and we start again and we try do a TCP flow? So if I to clear the session or the capture, we would do monitor capture lab clear, and you'll be prompted to confirm that you want to clear, so we'll clear that. So again, we'll issue the same command again, and we can see we've got a fresh slate there. So what we'll do now is issue a TCP flow. Let me just remind myself what we're going to be using. So we're going to use TCP. We're going to use destination port. So what we'll do is we'll issue destination port as 443. Okay, so we can see that's going through there, which is good. Now let's have a look at the traffic. Show monitor capture lab. We're still catching in both directions. We've got the buffer limit, which is fine, and we can see that the status is active. So let me just make sure that is correct. 209.209.2. So we should have seen some details on there, but we're not. Buffer detailed. So that's going. Let's see if we issue the normal ping again. That works. Okay, that's not going through. So if I do monitor capture lab stop, and let's just start it again. And then if I do the TCP flow again, don't seem to have any going through for some reason. Show monitor capture lab. It's coming from 1.10 to that in both directions. So we seem to have another issue here somewhere. Any protocol is specified, so it should let's have a look at the NAT translations. So you can see it's going through there. Okay, so it might be something to do with the capture. Show monitor capture. No, we'll do monitor capture lab clear, monitor capture lab stop. Let's clear it again and then we'll start it again, and then we'll do that again. So let's try and issue that again and see what we get. So we're not getting anything actually, so that's strange, very strange. So it might have something to do with the actual VPC. So what I'll do is I'll just copy that. I will shut down that VPC a minute. Sometimes they act up a little bit different. I'll just give it the IP again, 192.168.1.10/24, gateways 1.1. We'll try issue that again. We can see that nothing's going through there. That's strange. So we can see that it is configured, it's active, the interface is there. So how about if I tell you what, let's capture on gig 1. I want to capture lab interface gig 1.10 because that's the sub interface, and we're going to capture in both directions. See if that's applied, or if I stop the so I need to stop the capture. Okay, now it's stopped. I should be able to assign that interface. So show monitor capture. So we can see now that we've got two interfaces. So we've got gig 3 and we have gig 1.10. So monitor capture lab start. Buffer brief. Okay, so let's run that again. Yay! So there we go. So we're seeing traffic now, which is good. We can see there's TCP as well. We can see that we've got source to destination. And if if we look at the detail, it just gives you a little bit more detail, breaking it down. But briefs where it's at really. And what you can do is you can also change the source, change the destination, to make sure that the flows are there. So once you are done with that, like I said, you can either export this to look at it a little bit further, or you can just once you finish with it, you can just delete it. So what we do to actually get rid of it is, in fact, before I get rid of it, I just want to show you, if you recall, I said that you cannot see this in your running config. So I just want to show you that. So it doesn't exist in the config whatsoever. So make sure you do stop the EPC and you get rid of it once you are finished. So to do that, what we'll do is monitor capture lab stop. We'll do no monitor capture lab. So now if you do show monitor capture, nothing appears. So that's it. You've got rid of that now. So that's step 9 and 10 that we've just done, and that's it. So I hope that this knowledge transfer has been useful. I just wanted to demonstrate how you can run packet captures on Cisco iOS XE devices for troubleshooting. It's really useful. I found it really useful when I'm troubleshooting on iOS XE devices. So it's very useful for troubleshooting, and you can end up finding and fixing your issue this way. So I hope that's been useful. I've got some useful links here to my YouTube channel. Please go ahead and subscribe and tap that notifications tab so that you are notified of new videos when I do post them. That way you don't miss out on new videos or new knowledge transfer sessions that I do. I've got my website there where you can also subscribe. I'm regularly posting blog posts as well. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, and I also have some Cisco docs that'll be useful for configuring embedded packet capture. But until next time, again, thank you for watching, and if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. But until then, goodbye.